Hey everybody, and welcome back to the History Reader. In today's video we're just going to have a bit of a chat. We've obviously finished up November's, the non-fiction November Readalong, which was about James Holland's The War in the West, Volume 1, Germany Ascendant. So I hope you guys enjoyed that one. I definitely enjoyed reading the book and having discussions with you about it throughout the month. But I was actually reading quite a bit of other stuff during the month as well, on and off. I didn't actually finish a whole lot. I finished one other book during the month, at least in physical books. And I've also started listening to a lot of audiobooks recently since we've opened up. I've been going to like the beach and stuff a lot, so the journey down there I've been listening to audiobooks. So we'll get cracking. I just wanted to basically have a chat about some of the stuff I've been reading and what I've thought about it. So this one is actually from a little while ago. I finished it. I was reading it before Non-Fiction November for quite a while. It is Dreadnought by Robert K. Massey. The subtitle is Britain, Germany and the Coming of the Great War. And this is it's difficult to describe what the book is doing necessarily, apart from just saying it's about British and German relations in the lead up to the First World War, and it centers around the naval kind of arms race and culminates sort of in the creation of the Dreadnought, but we sort of move through that. The Dreadnought is created and that changes things, and then we move beyond that. So basically we start with effectively Bismarck back in the 1860s, 1870s, and the sort of web of alliances and agreements that he builds within Europe. And then we basically move chronologically, looking at all the different personalities like the Kaiser and the King and Jackie Fisher and everyone, and the various conflicts that are happening in places like South Africa and North Africa and around the Mediterranean and whatnot, and sort of just examining how that relationship changes over time, particularly on a personal level. So that was really, really good. It was published after, I believe, I've said this before in a video and I always forget, but Robert Massey has another book, Castles of Steel, which is about the naval war in the First World War, and this is kind of the precursor, but I believe it was published after. I think Castles of Steel was published first. So that was that one, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Castles of Steel, and that's why I wanted to pick this one up. He writes so well, he brings the characters alive, and it's something I probably want to return to at some point. There's a lot in here. It's quite a dense, long book, so I do want to return to it. The other thing that I read, or I've started reading, is Master and Commander by Patrick O'Brian. This is actually fiction, but I've been meaning to get around to it. I love the movie, and so I'm sort of 150 pages in or so, and fiction can be a little bit difficult for me, so I'm persevering, and hopefully I really get into the swing of it and I can read. On the back here they've got 21 books in the series, so that would be really cool to read through all of them. And the last physical book I've got here is this one that I picked up. I was actually looking for I've got kind of interested in like the stories of mountaineering and climbing Everest and stuff like that, so I was looking for a book on Edmund Hillary, like a biography. There's a few out there on him, and I couldn't find it, but I did come across this, which is about Robert Falcon Scott. It's called Scott of the Antarctic by David Crane, and it's a biography of Robert Falcon Scott, who, when he was in the party, he led the party that was racing Roald Amundsen to the South Pole in 1913, and then I believe he reached the pole but then died on the way back, whereas Amundsen did manage to get back. And yeah, I remember reading about him as a kid. I had a book on like explorers and I read about him, but I couldn't find one on Hillary, and I saw this one, and so I thought I'd pick it up, and I'm really glad I did. I have been flying through this book. It is so good, so interesting. It's actually kind of an interesting pickup from Dreadnought, in that Scott was in Royal Navy at around the time that you're looking in Dreadnought, so you get a bit of a different perspective, and you come across similar characters like Beatty and Jellicoe and all of those people, but then obviously go off to the South Pole, or to Antarctica, and eventually to the South Pole. So I've been really enjoying that, and I think I'm going to read some more books in this sort of area for a bit, before going back next year to looking at more of the political stuff. So yeah, I've been really enjoying that one. Now, in terms of audiobooks, I've got really into them, and audiobooks can be a tricky one because I am always tempted to pick up like the books I really want to read, but if you're trying to get through a massive biography that's really like a scholarly sort of not popular biography is what I'm trying to say, it can be hard to like actually follow an audiobook. At least I find it hard. So I've kind of found a bit of a sweet spot with audiobooks where it's stuff I'm interested in, but it's not too difficult to follow. And the first one I read recently was Into the Wild by John Krakauer. And it's not strictly history, although I suppose it happened long enough ago now that it is, I suppose. But it's a journalistic book about a guy called Chris McCandless who goes off into the Alaska wilderness and dies there, and it's kind of his story. It's been made into quite a popular movie. And then I also read Into Thin Air by John Krakauer. I actually read this early on in the year and I wanted to read it again. That is about the 1996 Everest disaster, where I think 8 people died on the mountain. John Krakauer was on that expedition, and so he wrote this in 1997. And so that's also really interesting. And then the last one that I read on Audible is called Dead Mountain by Danny Eicher, and it's a story about some hikers in Soviet Russia who go out into the Urals, and they are then later found dead with their tent ripped open, and they'd all sort of run at least a mile away from their tent in parts, like partly undressed, and this is in the middle of winter, so they you wouldn't voluntarily leave your tent without a lot of clothing on, but these people had. And then there was 2 of them who had quite severe injuries, one to the chest and ribs and the other to the head. And so it's a look into, it's kind of one of these things where nobody really knows what happened, but there's a lot of crazy theories, and being in Soviet Russia, the theories get really crazy. So I enjoyed that one. So that's what I've been reading. In terms of my reading plans for the month of December, obviously December can get quite busy and interrupted, so I'm not putting too much pressure on myself. I definitely want to get through Scott of the Antarctic, and then I think after that I'm going to see if I can find one on Edmund Hillary. Otherwise I will be coming back to this. The British Are Coming by Rick Atkinson. I believe this is the War for America, and it's 1775 to 1777. So it's going to be the first volume in a trilogy on the Revolutionary War. I actually started reading this and I was about 100 pages in during November, and then I picked up other stuff and started reading that. So that's probably what I'll come back to after Scott, if I don't find one on Edmund Hillary. So yeah, that's what we've got. I've got some cool video ideas for the month of December. David Murphy's back and he's been putting out some tags, so I will be jumping on that probably. And other than that, I hope you guys are having a good week. Hope you're reading a lot, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.